Growing up, it was rough. When I was 3, my mom and my dad, I'm already getting emotional. My mom and my dad divorced, and it was not like a good divorce. It was bad. After they divorced, my dad met my stepmom, Chrissy, and she had a daughter, Brielle. And then my dad and Chrissy had a daughter 3 years later, so yeah, named Shay. Growing up, it was rough because it was kind of like I lived with my mom, they lived with my dad and Chrissy. I always wanted to be there, but when I was there, I was like the black sheep of the family. Like, my mom and my stepmom did not get along at all. Growing up, my mom would always tell me stories like about my dad and how my dad was a horrible person. It was bad, but there was good times too. You know, she tried to make me a part, but I never felt like I was a part. And then my mom met my ex-stepdad, who passed away this year. And that was amazing. Like, my mom and Bruce were really good. They gave me everything, that I ever wanted, but emotionally, my mom, I don't know. It just, like, she would buy me things, but, like, the love wasn't there. But then when I was about 12 or 13, my mom and Bruce got a divorce because he had a drinking problem. And that was bad. My mom blamed me for it. It was ugly. So we ended up moving, and that was kind of when it all started. I had all that animosity and, negativity coming from my stepmom, and then now my mom is, coming at me as well. They're not treating me bad for no reason, is what's going through my head. So if I'm such a horrible person, like, maybe I should hurt myself. Well, I ended up telling my mother, and I went away to Hampton for a month. We decided during that time that I should go live with my father, which was really, really hard to do because my whole life my mother ingrained it in me that it was her and me against the world, like, only her and me, like, we have to stick together, like, I have to protect her. I felt so bad moving, but I knew, like, it was something that I had to do, like, to get away, because our relationship was getting physically violent. So when I moved, everything I thought, would be great. Like, I had my sisters, I had my dad, my stepmom at this point was, acting like the loving stepmother. I never got a room, even though there was an extra room. I slept on the couch. For a while it did go okay, and then somehow, some way, somebody called typhus. I don't know why, how. And I remember being blamed, or my mother being blamed for that. So that made things a lot worse. So I ended up moving in with my, at the time, boyfriend, Kyle, and hanging out with his friends a lot. We started smoking weed. Never thought it would go past that. But it did. It went way past that. I can't blame it all on them. I think it was like just all of us together. We all had really bad childhoods, We lost parents, addiction runs in our families. So I think it was just like all of us, and our lives suck, this and that. So smoking pot and drinking turned into, well, such and such has cocaine. You want to try that? Why not? Eventually, I ended up dropping out of school. I remember smoking like a joint every day waiting for the bus, and then like being at school drinking alcohol, or trying to find some kind of reason to leave school, just to leave school and go hang out with them. Yeah, drinking, smoking, and doing cocaine occasionally turned into drinking alcohol constantly, doing cocaine constantly. Me and my ex got into a really bad fight. He started physically abusing me. Even when we would sleep, he would hold on to my wrists. I don't know, I just thought it was normal in a way. Like, oh, okay, this is my first boyfriend, whatever. I didn't want to lose him because I never felt loved. So, like, I finally felt loved. But I ended up getting away from him, and I moved in with my mother. I was still living with my mother, but I wasn't. I was living at my friend's house, and we were partying all the time. Even though I knew it was wrong, like in the back of my head, like I was constantly depressed. I found a journal that I had written during that period, and it was all like literally like, I want to die. I can't live like this. But then somebody introduced us into like quercetin, triple C's. If you take too many, technically you're overdosing, but you trip. So I literally did that for a year straight, every single day, tripping face, like going to family functions, nobody even knew. I don't even remember a lot of that year. I remember I was almost raped. During this whole time, like, I never ate, barely slept. When I did, it was like at days at a time, because I was like, you know, up for days, sleeping for days. Like, I would text my dad all the time, and he'd be like, well, what can I do for you, kid? He'd buy me a Wawa, a Wawa hoagie, and a Wawa peach tea every single day. And I would split that amongst 7 people. I don't even think there was electric in the house at one point. Because we didn't even care. It was a party house, you know? It was literally like 5 months before my 18th birthday, somebody had called DIFUS on my mother, stating like, she's not living there, she doesn't even know what she's doing. So DIFUS got involved. My mom actually ended up moving in to the party house and doing cocaine with me.
So that you were 17?
Yeah.
Like, that's how old I am.
Yeah. 17. I was going and buying my mother 8 balls with her EBT money. Yeah, it was a really low point in life. We had to leave that house, like, one way or the other, like, you know, we just had to leave. So my mom met somebody on AOL chat room. You know, she'd been talking to this guy for a while. She thought he was a good guy. So she's like, I'm moving to Buffalo, New York to go live with this guy. Okay, well, DIFUS is involved now. I have to go. So me and my friend Lou made a promise that we both would straighten up, you know. This was like my brother. So I moved up there, and I hated it. I felt so alone. I had nobody. The guy was an alcoholic. He would talk to his 2 Siamese cats. Like, it was really bad. I slept with a knife under my pillow. In December, my mom told me, like, listen, you can go home. Like, you're about to be 18. You can go home. So December 27th, I boarded a train from Buffalo, New York to come home. My friend Lou called me, but like before I got on the bus, and was like, I can't wait to see you. You know, we're gonna get drunk. Like, but that's all we're gonna do. We're just gonna party because you're home. Like, all right, yeah. Like, I can't wait. So I arrive, and my ride picks me up, and the whole time I'm trying to get a hold of Lou. Like, I got a hold of everybody else but him. Like, damn it, like, he's the one, you know, that's supposed to be there. Like, I just talked to him 24 hours ago. Get to the party house, and everybody's blowing up his phone. So finally, my friend Max got an answer, and he walked out of the room, came back, and he goes, guys, Lou's dead. That killed me. That was the first real person I lost, like, to drugs, was him. That hit me really, really hard. So instead of straightening out, I went back to partying even harder. Still didn't touch heroin though. I never really thought I had a problem because I could drop things, you know what I mean? Eventually, I had to leave that house. I remember going to my dad's house, like knocking on the door, asking if I could just stay, sleep on the couch, just one night. Like, I have nowhere to go, just one night. I was turned away. I slept in the woods for a week in a tent. During that period of time, I ended up getting clean. To be honest, I don't remember how or why or like what happened, but I remember, like, I stopped. Me and my mom moved in together. Things were going okay. My grandmother moved in, my mom's mom, and things were going good. I was working, and I remember doing cocaine a few more times. And then Brielle found out her boyfriend did heroin. That was the one thing nobody ever wanted to do. We hated people for it. I remember being home in Edgewater, getting a phone call from my sister, saying, Angela, you need to come here now. Our friend Fletcher is dead in the bathroom, leaning against the door, and we cannot get the door open. The police are here. I have a lot of like physical ailments that cause pain. And I remember being prescribed Percocet, and I would sell them because I did not want them. They made me feel sick. Hated it. Hated the feeling. Well, a couple months down the road, I met this boy, Matt. I found out that he was addicted to perks. And at that time, I was going through a lot of my flare-up issues. And so I was prescribed pain medication. I was like, you know what, like I really, maybe I should just try it. So I took one at night, and like for some reason that time I didn't feel sick and I loved it. So I started taking like a pill every night before I went to bed, just to like chill out, go to bed. Once that prescription ran out, I would ask my mother, "Is my mom in pain?" She would just give me her pain meds. It got to the point where it's like I couldn't not take it because I needed it. So things happened. Me and my mom were getting into worse and worse fights. I ended up moving down to Mays Landing with this guy Matt. Well, come to find out, he did heroin. And one day I had a really bad abscess, and we couldn't like get any kind of pain meds off the street, but he had his heroin. And he was like, here, just do a little bit, like, you'll feel so much better. I refused, like, I got mad at him. Literally, he put some in a straw. He held it with his fingers, so it was, like, in there, and, like, stuck it up my nose, and, like, held my mouth. And, like, I didn't feel it, but after that, I was like, screw it. Like, I'm in so much pain, dirty, like, now I've already done it. Might as well do it, try it. So I tried it, and I was like, I didn't die. I guess it's just like every other drug, you know. I can do and put it down. No, that's the one thing that grabbed a hold of me, and to this day won't let go. One day I woke up, and I was like, oh, I feel like I have the flu. And my boyfriend Matt turned to me and he goes, nope, you're dope sick. Your body is physically addicted to it, and you physically like you need it now. And I'm like, I've only been doing this a month. He's like, that's all it takes. So from there on out, I remember it was bad. Neither one of us were working. Like, I had lost my job. We did what we had to do to survive. I remember him going with his cousin and going and robbing houses. Like, doing things like you would never, like, imagine you would do. Just so you would feel okay. Not even to get high anymore. It's just to survive at this point. Once you're physically addicted to heroin, it's the worst feeling in the world. You have everyone around you looking at you, and you know what they're thinking, even if they're not saying it, but you're feeling that about yourself. So then it puts you in a lower hole. We were together for 1.5 years. And he was physically abusive as well. I thought, I don't know, I just was desperately looking for somebody to love me. Like, I was trying to fill a void that I didn't even know, like, I was trying to fill. But after 1.5 years, I called up my grandmother and I said, I need help. Like, I want out. So her and my mom came down there and took me away from there. I had no idea what I was gonna do. I'm a heroin addict at this point. I need something to feel better. I kicked it cold turkey on my grandmother's couch. Thank God I wasn't that addicted, because it could have been a lot worse. So I was super proud of myself. I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm clean. I have a new lease on life. But that void was still there. It was still like, I still like was so depressed all the time. Like, I wanted to know why, like, my mom doesn't love me, why my dad doesn't love me. I was just constantly depressed. And at that time, I started getting really bad anxiety. I would drink here and there, like, when I could. My grandmother doesn't allow any kind of drugs or alcohol in her house. She's very religious. So I would have to, like, sneak it, you know, like, hide it and then drink while she's asleep. My friend from around here had one of her friends with them, and she's like, oh, we have to make a run for him, so he has to go grab some shit. I'm like, okay, whatever, like, not a big deal. And then I found out we were going to Camden, and I'm like, why are we going to Camden? Like, this is not an alcohol run, like, what are we doing? Found out he was going to get heroin, so of course I'm sitting there and I'm like, great. Like, I'm in this situation again, and I didn't even mean for it to happen. And what does he do? He offers me some. And, you know, as an addict, you think, like, you're okay. Like, yeah, I could do it one time, not a big deal. So I was like, alright, cool. Like, I ended up sniffing that bag or whatever. I thought I was okay. Well, then we hung out with him again. And I was like, you have anything? Like, so then it kind of started the ball rolling a little bit, not full force. So I met my now husband Eli. He was on drug court, so he was clean. He was doing really good. So I didn't want him to know about anything. We were doing really good for a while. I would sneak pills behind his back. You know, we got it from my mother, and I didn't want to get back to like the addiction that I was at before. So I stopped everything. But even just doing something for a week, I started getting sick from it. And then I got pregnant with my daughter. After me and Eli were only together 7 months. So that was, I obviously stopped everything then, you know. I wasn't physically addicted to the point where, like, you know, like, if I stopped, I would harm myself or her. He wasn't ready for a baby, I wasn't either. But you know what? Like, to this day, like, she's kind of like our blessing. So the pregnancy went good. After I had her, though, the hospital, knowing I'm an addict, gives me Percocet. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, am I gonna be okay? Like, A, I'm breastfeeding, and B, like, you know, I have a problem with pain meds and heroin. They're like, no, you'll be fine. You won't even, like, feel it. Like, just that Perc 5, I was ripped. I was like, yep, here we go again. The day we took Leah home, they gave me a prescription. I filled it, and I took them as prescribed. But then the lady we were living with, she also has a lot of pain issues. And I remember she had a prescription of, I had no idea what they were at the time. I just know it was pain medication. And she was like, you can have these if you need them. And I'm like, sure, I'll take them. Like, why not? Like, I just had a kid. Like, I'm in pain. So I ended up, you know, doing those a lot behind Eli's back. He had no idea. After I had my daughter, I had a lot of postpartum depression issues. I was alone all the time with the baby. My poor daughter has stomach problems, so she would scream out in pain. Like, I felt horrible, like I couldn't take her pain away. So, you know, so I went right back to old habits. I'm gonna cover up my pain by taking pain meds. And then one day I woke up and I was like, oh, I don't feel good. Eli's like, you addicted again? And I was like, yeah, I think so. Him and my mother tried to get me on some kind of maintenance program. It's really hard, though. That's something that the country needs to change. Addicts need to be able to get help. That's the problem. There's not enough programs out there. Unless you have insurance, you're screwed. I finally got on a program, and I was getting Suboxone, and it was going really well. And this was, I remember, it was February 2014. Eli graduated drug court. And that night, he's like, I want to get high, like, I want to do something. I knew I shouldn't, but, like, the addict in you is like, yeah, like it'll be fine. And that was, like, one of the worst mistakes I ever did. He started right back to where, you know, his addiction left off, like, 3.5 years prior to that. In the beginning, it was fine, like, if we were just doing subs, you know what I mean, or whatever.
What's that?
Oh, it's Suboxone. It's a maintenance drug. to help with withdrawal, and like you can get high from it if you do more than you're prescribed, but with anything comes a sickness. So like you can't just stop taking Suboxone either, because then you'll be sick. At this point, my mom was selling her medication to people, so I was like, well, let me just buy a couple, whatever, you don't have to give them a name. So we started doing that. 2 months later, we moved into our own place. We knew it was going to be a bad idea, but we had no other choice. We moved to the ghetto of Pemberton. It's drugs everywhere. And we live right on the main drag. We were like, it'll be okay. Like, we don't know anybody. We'll just stick to ourselves, you know. But I remember him coming home, and he went right into the bathroom. And I remember him coming into the room and opening his hand, and he had like 2 bags of like heroin in his hand, and I was like, I flipped. I remember I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know that I have a problem with this, or I had a problem with this. Like, it's bad enough we're doing pills. Like, we have a daughter now. Like, we can't get that back. It's crazy. Like, you tell yourself like you can't, but the addiction part of you like forces you to. It's crazy. It's literally puts heroin before every other need. So that kind of started us on a really bad path. We went from having a house, 2 cars, him working, me working, to literally nothing. We had nothing. We sold his car first, and then he would use my car to go on runs with all his friends, so we could just make 1 or 2 bags for both of us to not, so we weren't sick. You know, I'm trying to take care of my daughter. I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing. In the back of my head, I'm like, you know, I can't be sick because I can't take care of her if I'm sick. So the whole time I'm thinking it's the right thing, but it wasn't. It led me down a really dark place. Me and Eli, we were fighting all the time. Me and my mom were fighting all the time. My mom ended up kicking Eli out of our own home. Eli was living on the streets in my car. Like, I would sneak him in through the window as often as I could. Typhus ended up getting involved. We signed over temporary custody to my mother. We still have our parental rights, but like the residential custody would go to my mother. I'm thinking this is the right choice. It's my mother. Even though she has done things to hurt me in the past, she's not going to take my daughter away from me. She's not. She ended up kicking me out of, you know, the place we were living. So I literally was sleeping on the streets as well. The whole time, we would try to get clean over and over again. We would try to buy subs off the street, just to get by. It was a really dark time in my life. I remember like just praying to God, just let me die. Just let me die. I remember falling out onto the floor and waking up 5 hours later, not even knowing like what happened. Technically what happened is I overdosed. Thank God I woke up. That's happened so many times. Eli was constantly in and out of jail. I was constantly alone. I made some really bad decisions. I had no money, no nothing. Our dealer liked me. So he says, well, if you do this, I'll give you free shit. Without even thinking, I'm so desperate, I'm so sick, I'm so lonely. Of course, why not? Without hesitation, knowing it's gonna hurt Eli, I did it. Up until February of this year, that was my life. Me and Eli lived in a tent in somebody's backyard. We lived in, it was my friend's house, but it was in foreclosure. The plumbing was messed up. We had electric for a while, and then that got turned off. But constantly living in fear of when are the cops gonna show up? When are we actually gonna get kicked out of here? Wanting a better life, but not knowing how to get it. Throughout these years, I would go to certain programs to try to like help me. And I remember them giving me a paper one time, and it was for a Suboxone clinic that took Medicaid, and I had Medicaid finally. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna call them. I called them and they were like, come in on Friday. So I went in there and the doctor gave me a prescription, and I filled it, and everything was good. We were finally not doing heroin. We were doing okay. We were on Suboxone. Yeah, we were still living like dirt bags. You know what I mean? Can't really take a shower. You have nothing to eat. You still have to go to the dollar store and steal a burrito just to, just for food. Like, but at least we weren't getting high anymore. But that only lasted a little bit as well. When you're in active addiction, you're in this whole thing. It's kind of like a secret world that most people don't even know about. You get these texts from people, and it's like, yo, I got fired, like, only such and such for this amount. And it's like, you automatically, it doesn't matter. The addict in your brain, like, your brain tells you, like, you're fine. So we would still dabble here and there, but for the most part, we did really good. I was still super depressed, so was he. At this time, he got a warrant for not being able to pay his fines. And on April 27th of this year, Eli got arrested for the warrant. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was alone in this house. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I slept in my grandmother's car for a couple months because I'm not allowed to, like, really be there. This time around, I don't know if I was stronger or I was just tired of fighting. I decided to stand up on my own and actually beat this shit. Like, I'm not, obviously you can't win this war, like the war, but you can win a battle each day. And since moving out of that house, and since working at McDonald's, April 30th or whatever it was, the end of April, beginning of May, I've been doing fantastic. It's still, every day is a struggle. Something bad happens, you automatically want to run right to that drug and to cover it up. But honestly, without maintenance, I wouldn't have been able to do it. A lot of people call it a cop-out, or it's, I'm still using. No. If I was still using, I'd be on the street and not have my own room. Still sticking a needle in my fucking arm. Praying to God I don't miss. Praying to God that I don't get locked up this time. Eli doesn't get locked up again. Looking back, I never saw myself as a strong person, but I have to give myself some credit because I've been through literally hell, and I'm still standing. And then my dad and Chrissy had a daughter 3 years later. So yeah, named Shay. My younger sister Shay. She would try to tag along, but we were like, nah, no, you're the little one, go away. And I remember Shay was there, and Shay wanted to try it, and I allowed her to. I said, I'd rather you, be safe, try it around me. Stupid. So stupid. I figured at least I can protect her. And not to mention my sister was using it at this time, which that's a subject I'll talk about in a minute.